When I first saw Ethan Hale, I knew I was in trouble. It was my first day at Whitman and Company, and the last thing I expected was to be brought to my knees by a man's gaze. But Ethan wasn't just any man, he was the company's enigmatic CEO. Tall, dark-haired, with a controlled intensity that rippled beneath his composed exterior. He was everything I should have avoided, but from the moment we locked eyes in the elevator, it was already too late. "Olivia Carter," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "I've heard about you." The way he said my name sent shivers down my spine. There was something dangerous about him, something primal. I'd worked hard to build my career, priding myself on staying focused and independent, but Ethan had the ability to dismantle all of that with just a look. Still, I wasn't about to be swept up so easily. "Good things, I hope," I replied, lifting my chin. My heart was racing, but I refused to let him see it. His lips curved into a slow, knowing smile. "Very good things." The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and introductions, but I couldn't shake the way Ethan had looked at me, as though he saw through all my defenses. He had a presence that demanded attention, control radiating off him in waves. I could feel it every time he was near, my body responding to him before my mind could stop it. Weeks passed, and we found ourselves working closely on a major project. The tension between us grew with every interaction, every stolen glance, every brush of his hand. Ethan was magnetic, and the more I tried to stay away, the more I found myself drawn to him. I didn't want to admit it, but I was unraveling under the weight of my own desire. It wasn't until a late-night meeting that everything changed. The office was empty, and I was reviewing notes when I heard his footsteps behind me. I tensed, already knowing it was him. "Olivia," Ethan said, his voice low and commanding. "Stay." I froze, the breath catching in my throat. There was no mistaking the intent in his tone, no denying the way my body reacted to him. I turned slowly, meeting his eyes. They were dark, filled with a heat that threatened to consume me. My pulse quickened, a silent battle raging inside me, run or surrender. "I can't," I whispered, though I wasn't sure who I was trying to convince, him or myself. "You can," he murmured, stepping closer, his presence overwhelming. "You want this as much as I do." And he was right. I wanted him, more than I had ever wanted anything, but it terrified me. I wasn't the type to lose control, and Ethan was the kind of man who would take everything if I let him. "I don't know how to do this," I admitted, my voice barely audible. Ethan's hand reached up, gently brushing a strand of hair from my face. His touch was electric, sending shockwaves through me. "You don't have to know," he said softly. "You just have to trust me." Trust. The word hit me hard. Trusting Ethan meant letting go, giving in to the pull between us. It meant letting him take control in a way I had never allowed anyone to. The thought scared me, but the ache inside me was stronger than my fear. Before I could stop myself, I closed the distance between us. His lips met mine, the kiss fierce, hungry, and everything I'd been holding back burst free. Ethan's hands gripped my waist, pulling me closer, and in that moment I gave up the fight. I let go. That night, he took me to places I didn't know I could go. He stripped away the walls I had carefully built around myself, showing me that surrender wasn't a weakness. It was freedom. His control wasn't suffocating, it was liberating. With him, I didn't have to be strong all the time. I could just be. As dawn broke, I lay in Ethan's arms, my body still humming with the aftershocks of what had passed between us. It wasn't just physical. Ethan had opened up something inside me I hadn't known was there. I'd spent so long guarding myself, but with him, I felt safe enough to let go. And it wasn't just the passion that bound us. It was the connection, the unspoken understanding between two people who had always fought to stay in control. "I've never felt like this before," I confessed softly, turning to meet his gaze. Ethan's hand stroked my hair, his eyes filled with an intensity that made my heart race all over again. "Neither have I," he said, his voice low and rough. But I'm not letting you go, Olivia. His words sent a thrill through me, but there was also a twinge of fear. Being with Ethan was like standing on the edge of a cliff, dangerous, exhilarating, and uncertain. But as I lay there, wrapped in his arms, I realized something. For once, I wasn't afraid to fall.